After Exorcist, I never thought any horror franchise could beat its success, but then came The Conjuring and swept the box office. The Conjuring kept it real and was based on the real incidents that happened to the Perron family of Rhode Island and the Hodgson family's haunting stories. It's said that the incidents were far more frightening than the films. The films followed psychological tactics to induce fear, which worked well for the movie. Also, less digital effects were used. Here's a detailed view of this popular franchise. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
God, I condemn you back to hell!
The franchise called The Conjuring. When The Conjuring 2013 was released, it was widely praised for its realistic depiction of a family's demonic haunting in Rhode Island. Realistic, indeed, because it was the first-hand recount of the horrifyingly true experiences of Ed and Lorraine Warren. Their experiences spawned a successful franchise in the form of movies, bringing in as much as $2.2 billion against a combined budget of $208 million for all the installment. On one hand, it's said that the true stories were scarier than shown in the movie, while the couple thinks the movies were over-dramatized. Fans even assume the movie to be some wild imagination of director James Wan. I'm not sure what to believe, but I enjoyed them, nevertheless. Call them ghost hunters if you wish, but Ed Warren, a World War veteran, educated himself about demons and became a demonologist. His wife, Lorraine, accessed these demons/spirits that Ed discovered due to her knowledge about clairvoyance. Progressing well in their research in 1952, the couple founded the New England Society for Psychic Research, which was the oldest ghost hunting group in New England. It was no surprise that the couple gained the respect of their neighborhood due to their genuine prowess in paranormal investigation, especially after their initial investigation of the famous Amityville haunting. Two of their famous cases, the Perron family and the Enfield haunting, were made into movies, which are popularly known as belonging to the Conjuring franchise, a dramatized version of Ed and Lorraine's experiences exorcising demons from the lives of these two unfortunate families. Initially, the Warrens defended the over-dramatized version of The Conjuring by saying the events shown in the movie happened. However, after Ed died in 2006, Lorraine, who was a consultant on the film, said she had regulated the director's take on the events and prevented them from over-dramatizing. In my opinion, there was no over-dramatizing. Otherwise, Conjuring wouldn't be one of the most successful horror franchises of all time. Fibbing can't bring you money, and I believe in it because the audience is an intelligent bunch who can tell the difference. The first two Conjuring movies highlighted the couple's experiences with their most popular interactions, one being with the Perron family, who were witnessing haunting events at their newly acquired house in Rhode Island, and the second one was inspired by both the case of the Enfield poltergeist and the events of the Amityville horror. Presenting The Conjuring. The first cinematic version inspired by the Perron family incident was titled The Conjuring and was released on July 19, 2013. Conjuring means to summon, and this supernatural illusion was brought to the screen by director James Wan and writers Chad Hayes and Carrie W. Hayes. Stars Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga played the role of ghost hunters and paranormal investigative authors, Ed and Lorraine Warren, who come to the help of the victim, the Perron family. The plot is seated in the backstory that occurs in 1968, when renowned paranormal investigators, Ed and Lorraine Warren, while working on the Annabelle case, come across the spirit of 7-year-old Annabelle Higgins, who'd been invited to possess the doll of friends Debbie and Camille. But the decision to allow Annabelle a free hand leads to disturbing events, making Ed and Lorraine conclude that the doll was only a medium for the demonic spirit of Annabelle to possess one of the friends. Later, in 1971, a couple named Roger and Carolyn Perron shifted into a farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island, along with their daughters, namely Nancy, Andrea, Christine, April, and Cindy. Strangely, their dog Sadie resists entering the house. Within the first few nights, the family that had discovered a boarded-up cellar in the house and began to witness paranormal incidents. For instance, all clocks in the house stop at 3:07 a.m., and in the mornings, Carolyn wakes up with new bruises on her body. To worsen things, Sadie is found dead in the yard. Both Carolyn and Christine run into a malevolent spirit. When Carolyn consults with Ed and Lorraine Warren, the parents are told that a spirit had hooked itself onto the family, and there was no escape from it, even if they left the house and stayed elsewhere. To study the situation, the Warrens armed the house with surveillance camera, along with bells to monitor the spirit. Their assistant, Drew Thomas, and police officer Brad Hamilton helps them set it up. As they study the situation, they find from research that a witch named Bathsheba Sherman, who was a relative of Marytown Eastie, once owned the house. Bathsheba had sacrificed her 1-week-old baby to the devil and committed suicide in the year 1863. Out of despair, Bathsheba had cursed that anyone who resided in her land would be her victim. Ever since, the house had been haunted and seen numerous murder and suicide in all the homes built on the land. Knowing the research, when Bathsheba possesses Carolyn, Lorraine knew Bathsheba would force Carolyn to kill her child. So preempting the attack, Lorraine and Ed seek permission from the Catholic Church to perform an exorcism, but they hit a speed bumper when Father Gordon says the consent would have to come from the Vatican since the Perrons weren't members of the church. The spirit was watching and the clock was ticking. They needed the permission soon since the Warrens' daughter Judy, too, was attacked by Bathsheba's spirit, as if threatening them to back off somehow. To assuage the situation, the Perron family takes shelter in a motel, but a possessed Carolyn goes back to the house, taking Christine and April along. In a fight to finish, Ed, Lorraine, and Brad tie up Carolyn to a chair as Ed attempts to perform an unofficial exorcism on her. Still, she escapes and goes after April until Lorraine distracts her with some family history, allowing Ed enough time to complete the exorcism and drive back Bathsheba to hell. The Warrens' passion for their craft comes into play when they carry a haunted music box to add to their collection of solved cases and artifacts. The Conjuring 2. And then came Conjuring 2, released on June 7, 2016, to tell the story about the Warrens' second famous case, the Enfield case. The same team, including director James Wan, writers Chad Hayes, David Leslie Johnson, and Carrie W. Hayes, along with stars Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, led the movie to yet another milestone of success. Conjuring 2 is about the Warrens traveling to England to help the Hodgson family deal with some poltergeist activity at their Enfield council house. This incident occurred in 1977, and in 1976, Lorraine Warren had just finished working on the Amityville murders with Ed to figure out if Ronald DeFeo Jr. was indeed under a demonic influence to kill his family on November 13, 1974, in the eventual haunting of the Lutz family. Around this time, she had a vision where she encountered a dark entity, a demonic nun, and witnessed Ed's death. Exactly a year later, the Hodgson family, whose home was situated in the London borough of Enfield, panicked when their second daughter, Janet, after playing with the Ouija board, sleepwalked that night and spoke to the dark entity in the voice of an angry elderly man. When the media rushed to interview the family, yet again, Janet was possessed by the spirit of Bill Wilkins, an older man who lived in the same house until his death. And here's when the Warrens were brought in to investigate whether the happenings with Janet were a hoax or a real demonic possession. Lorraine shudders, since she feared remembering her vision of Ed's death. Would it be a reality with this case? She gets another vision, wherein she sees the dark entity as a demonic nun who says her name. Lorraine, while in a trance, scratches the name into her Bible. As they continue to stay at the Hodgson residence, Ed and Lorraine take the help of other paranormal investigators, namely Maurice Gross and Anita Gregory, to analyze the authenticity of the case. The hauntings are discredited when Anita produces a video that shows Janet was wrecking the kitchen on purpose. Seeing this, Ed and Lorraine leave, confirmed in their beliefs that the Hodgson family was trying to get some attention by narrating a false haunted story. But much sooner, the Warrens figured that Bill Wilkins' spirit was a cover, which was manipulated by the demon nun, who sought to break Janet's will. Furthermore, the powerful nun demon had blocked Lorraine's abilities, preventing her from grasping the truth of Janet's possession. The truth was exposed, and the Warrens rushed back to the Hodgson residence, realizing their folly. On reaching, they find that Janet had taken position atop a window, getting ready to jump to her death. In the nick of time, Ed grabs Janet, but risks falling. At this time, lightning strikes the tree in the yard, which turns into a stump mirroring the same stump that had impaled Ed and Lorraine's vision. Scared, Lorraine finds the Bible on which she had written the name of the nun demon, Valak, and without wasting a minute, she calls out the demon by name, thereby showing her supremacy over her, also depicting that she knew her. Calling the demon's name catches her off guard, and she condemns her back to hell, freeing Janet and saving Ed's life. When they return home, Ed adds a haunted crooked man, Zoetrope toy, owned by Peggy's youngest child, to his collection of artifacts that already includes April Perron's music box and the Annabelle doll. The Conjuring 3. The third installment of the Conjuring franchise was The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. But in the Conjuring universe, this movie was the seventh installment. The movie was released on June 4th, 2021, and had a new team with Michael Chavez as director, writer David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick, which was based on a story by James Wan and Johnson McGoldrick. The film is a sequel to the 2013 and 2016 Conjuring film and stars Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, who reprised their roles as the paranormal investigators, Ed and Lorraine Warren. Actor Rory O'Connor and Sarah Catherine Hook made their feature debut with this movie. The movie also starred Julian Hilliard. The movie's plot was based on the murder trial of Arna Cheyenne Johnson that was held in 1981 in Connecticut, in the book titled The Devil in Connecticut, which was about the trial and was written by Gerald Brittle. In 1981, an exorcism is performed on 8-year-old David Glatzel by demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren, attended by his family, which includes his older sister Debbie, Father Gordon, and Debbie's boyfriend, Arna Johnson, in Brookfield, Connecticut. However, in an attempt to save the boy, Arna intervenes in the process and invites the demon to possess him instead of David. As Ed witnesses this horrific transfer of possession, he suffers a heart attack. A month later, when Ed recovers in the hospital, he reveals the transfer of possession he had witnessed, and Arna was the one possessed. Meanwhile, Arna hallucinates about the demon entering him and stabs his landlord 22 times, which becomes the basis of his trial. The council of the Warren is, therefore, sought to absolve Arna since he was under a demonic possession. This trial was also the first American murder trial where the defense was defending the murderer based on demonic possession. As the Warrens investigate the case, they find a witch's totem planted in the Glatzel home, which was used to convey a satanic curse on the Glatzel family, resulting in little David's possession. Kastner, a former priest who knew the disciples of the Ram cult, informs that the totem was left on purpose by an occultist. A similar type of case had happened in Danvers, Massachusetts, where the detectives had found a totem identical to that of Katie Lincoln, who was also stabbed 22 times. Hearing this, Ed and Lorraine travel to Massachusetts. On investigation, they find the totem lodged in Katie's friend Jessica's home, who was missing. Through her visions, Lorraine sees that Jessica had killed Katie and then jumped to her death, thus leading the detectives to recover her body from the gourd. In the same vision, Lorraine witnesses the same occultist instigating Arna to kill himself, but stops the occultist from doing so, thus making the occultist know that the Warrens were watching. As per the book of witchcraft called Strigarian, if a curse has to be nullified, then the altar of the occultist must be destroyed. But unfortunately, Ed is afflicted with the same curse when the totem is found in the Warren house. As Ed charges at Lorraine to stab her, with great difficulty, their assistant, Drew, stops Ed. And here comes a twist when priest Kastner reveals that the occultist creating disturbing possession was none other than his daughter Isla, whom he had raised in secrecy to avoid being reprimanded for violating the rule of celibacy by the Catholic Church. While Kastner was studying occult theories, his daughter became fascinated by the science and became one. Kastner, having no choice, leads the Warren couple through a tunnel beneath the house into Isla's altar, but Isla kills her father and curses Ed and Arna, using them as weapons to harm Lorraine, while Arna tries to kill himself. Lorraine puts up a fight by reminding Ed about their love and manages to destroy Isla's altar, which saves Arna as well. Isla, however, dies at the hands of the demon since she hadn't fulfilled the curse. Ed's trophy for their artifact room from this case was the cup and the Valak painting that was placed alongside the Annabelle doll. Arna is absolved of the murder, but gets convicted for manslaughter and serves time for 5 years, during which he marries Debbie while in prison. Everything we need to know about Conjuring 4. We know of all the Conjuring sequels so far, but what lies ahead? Conjuring Last Rites. The movie has been given a release date of September 5th, 2025. As the name suggests, it will be the final installment of the Conjuring franchise. Here's everything you need to know about this movie. The crew. Michael Chavez will once again don the hat of a director, and the movie is written by David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick, who was involved with The Conjuring right from the second installment. Ian Goldberg and Richard Nang are also part of the writing team. Like all of its sequels, this movie too will see Ed and Lorraine, played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, step out to solve yet another haunting mystery. The plot is based on James Wan, who's also the producer, and Johnson McGoldrick's story. The supporting cast will have Mia Tomlinson and Ben Hardy. The movie is a sequel to The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, 2021, and will be the 9th installment of the Conjuring universe. When The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It came out in June 2021, during an interview with The Empire, director Michael Chavez had hinted at the possibility of future installments of the Conjuring series, especially since the ending of the movie, The Devil Made Me Do It, had unraveled a new world for the Warrens. The task was to ramp up the fear with each installment. Vera Farmiga sounded excited when asked about the future installments. By October 2022, director Michael Chavez had been proven right, since The Hollywood Reporter revealed that they were coming with a 4th Conjuring film. Plot. While details of the plot are not known, Director Michael Chavez hinted that the fourth installment would be the finale of the stories so far and would complete phase 1 of these stories, setting the stage for the Conjuring series to continue. The plot is set in 1986. The Warrens come out of self-imposed retirement since Ed had suffered a heart attack to investigate the Smurl family haunting in West Pittston, Pennsylvania, a case notorious for its alleged supernatural phenomena. The story goes deeper. It's as much about family, faith, mortality, and legacy as it is about horror. Judy Warren, now an adult, plays a bigger part, showcasing psychic sensitivity inherited from her mother, Lorraine. Flashbacks to younger versions of Ed and Lorraine appear, alongside heartfelt explorations of their roles as parents and investigators. What's the real-life Smurl family haunting all about? What you should know. From 1974 to the late 1980s, Jack and Janet Smurl, along with their children and Jack's parents, reported escalating paranormal phenomena in their West Pittston, Pennsylvania duplex. These began with odd odors, stains, strange noises, and appliances acting on their own. The incidents grew more violent when their daughter was pushed downstairs, the family dog was thrown against a wall, and both Jack and Janet claimed a demonic entity sexually assaulted them. In 1986, when Ed and Lorraine Warren investigated, they concluded the home was inhabited by 4 spirits: an older woman, an older man, a violent young girl, and a dominating demon controlling the others. Wilting furniture, chilling temperature drop, and messages like "Get out" scrawled on a mirror were reported during their exorcism attempts. The case back then attracted wide media attention, and the Smurls appeared on shows like Larry King Live and Entertainment Tonight. In 1988, they co-wrote the book The Haunted, One Family's Nightmare. Their story was made into a 1991 TV movie, The Haunted, starring Sally Kirkland and Jeffrey DeMunn. The tonality of the plot earlier was said to adopt an Avengers-style crossover, featuring past demonic entities. Still, the team opted to keep it small and make it a more intimate, emotional approach, and make it a personal and fitting finale for Ed and Lorraine's on-screen journey. This installment emphasizes the weight of legacy and concluding arcs over spectacle, while still delivering chills and a horror classic to the franchise. Objections and doubt. Skeptics, including Professor Paul Kurtz and psychologist Dr. Robert Gordon, labeled the haunting a hoax or explained it by psychological factors, citing Jack's prior brain surgery and lack of independent evidence. A Catholic priest who conducted an exorcism reportedly found nothing unusual, although Janet insisted multiple unsuccessful exorcisms took place, with the demon allegedly moving through the duplex. However, in 1986, the haunting supposedly ended after intense prayers led by Reverend Joseph Adonisio, and the family relocated to Wilkes-Barre in 1988. The house saw a new occupant in 1988, who reported no supernatural activity. What does the trailer say? The trailer and coverage spotlight the Smurl haunting, featuring intense visual, dramatic exorcism moments, disembodied hand, and a surprise appearance by Annabelle herself. It also takes us back to the origins of the demon haunting the Smurl, which is related to the younger days of Ed and Lorraine. This part, in my opinion, could be fabricated and not based on the true story. The first teaser emphasizes dread and foreboding, with whispers like, "We've been waiting so patiently for you," heightening the tension. Will this be the last time we see Ed and Lorraine? I'm not sure, but it is said that Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga have reflected emotionally on the end of their 12-year run as the Warren, marking this installment as a heartfelt farewell. Marvelous verdict. Farewells are always sad, and The Conjuring's last rites are a finale of all the stories so far that will conclude the on-screen journey of Ed and Lorraine. What'll be next? Will a new Ghost Rider be introduced next? Will Judy Warren take over from what her parents left off? I don't have answers to any of these, because I'm sad that the story track is ending. 13 years have passed since the first Conjuring was released, and it's nearing its end. I just hope the makers, under the guise of ending the story, don't mess up the future installments of Conjuring, which are bound to involve new character and new story track. I pray the Conjuring shouldn't go the Exorcist way, which experienced several upheavals and reboots, despite being the most successful franchise in the Classics era. I'm tempted to meet a psychic who could show what the future holds for the Conjuring series. I'll resist the temptation for now and leave you to speculate. At the moment, excited to preserve my seat and gorge on popcorn to watch the final installment of the Conjuring series Phase 1. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.